This edition of the Bowdoin Beach Report is sponsored by Umbrel. Our latest satellite picture shows, well, we have the remnants, still the deep tropical moisture coming in over the southeast, the southern Atlantic, very heavy rains from Hurricane Earl. It's still looming southwest Georgia. We have ISIS here. It's a tropical storm, but notice how moisture is spreading into Southern California and Arizona this morning. No problems generally, the Pacific Northwest coast. But if you're going to the eastern Great Lakes, you can watch out. Perhaps some choppy conditions here, Lakes Erie and Ontario, but very, very choppy. The waters, particularly here in western Florida, still a line of thunderstorms draping.
This program was sponsored by Umbrel, Advanced Sunscreen Protection.
Go beyond SPF with Umbrel. Ask your dermatologist about advanced UV protection.
People who've bought homes through a Century 21 office tend to sleep better at night. Maybe it's because we're the #1 real estate sales organization in the world. Or maybe it's because our agents have so much experience. Or it might just have something to do with the fact that when you buy a home through a Century 21 office, you can get an ADT security system installed, free. Maybe that's why so many people are sold on the power of Century 21.
Call 1-800-4HOUSES for a Century 21 office near you.
The all-new Mitsubishi Galant. Available 195 horsepower, totally new styling.
Sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors, the all-new 1998 Galant. Wake up and drive.
Tropical weather systems are affected by so many variables. We constantly monitor the situation. If someone is safer by watching the Weather Channel, that's what it's all about.
When some people have allergies, they sneeze a lot. Others get an itchy, runny nose or nasal congestion. Me, I had it all. So I said to my doctor, enough already. He prescribed Flonase nasal spray.
Multi-symptom Flonase. Once a day relieves all nasal allergy symptoms all day and all night long. For any or all of those nasal symptoms.
All it takes is Flonase.
For best results, Flonase must be used daily. Maximum relief may take several days. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, nosebleed, or sore throat. Call now and you'll get a $5 savings, valuable information on Flonase, and our free allergy newsletter in the fall and spring. So you'll know how to deal with your nasal allergies and feel better all year round. Even kids as young as 4 can use Flonase. For nasal allergy relief, ask your doctor about multi-symptom Flonase.
When you get it all it takes is Flonase.
The Weather Channel is brought to you by this cable or satellite provider. Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Coming up, get the forecast for the next 7 days in your weekly planner.
Base Council Forester report.
Me? I'm doing great. This Subaru Forester is a blast to drive. It's got a lot more horsepower than a CRV. This all-wheel drive goes through anything. Handles easy as a car.
Yes, I know all about the Forester. I meant your mission. Did you rendezvous with your partner?
Oh, she's gonna pay for this.
The new Subaru Forester. Sport utility tough, car easy.
Test drive the beauty of all-wheel drive at a Subaru dealer near you.
Okay, it's time now for the long-range forecast, starting with the jet stream to show you just the upper air wind flow. Huge ridge of high pressure in the nation's midsection. Weak trough here with a dip in the jet stream over the eastern Great Lakes into the northeast. This general pattern or configuration of the jet stream will continue as we go through the weekend, maybe slightly breaking down the high pressure here in the Pacific Northwest. But notice the ridge of high pressure is still pretty prominent in the nation's midsection. What does this mean for your day-by-day forecast? Well, let's check it out, starting with today's picture. Unsettled weather, well, you know we have the hurricane to come ashore, the panhandle of Florida overnight. Very heavy rain, windy conditions expected for central Georgia into South Carolina. Eventually, some of this moisture will head northward over the mid-Atlantic coast. And then tropical storm Isis here in the Baja of California. We've had moisture already in place across the southwest, and thunderstorms have been developing. And we think the moisture will increase even more so as we go through the next 24 to 48 hours across the southwest. We've had some scattered rain showers over the lower Great Lakes and the upper Mississippi Valley this morning. We think the system responsible for this area of inclement weather today will start to dissipate tomorrow. So looking better tomorrow across the Mississippi Valley and the plains. There you have it, though, the rain heading northward to southern Jersey shore tomorrow. And then the moisture will increase across the southwest. Now, Saturday's precipitation forecast like this, and then Sunday we'll begin to see a weak surface front build over the northern plains. And on Labor Day, that system could create some scattered showers over central Wisconsin. Dry for the most part, though, on Tuesday and Wednesday. So as we go through the weekend, I think the overall picture calls for a drier scenario. It will be hot today, though, across the plains with 90s and 100s. Cooler over the Great Lakes into the northeast with highs only in the 70s, and still hot over the interior regions of the Pacific Northwest on Saturday. And we think that Sunday we start to find some relief here in the Pacific Northwest. It won't be as hot as we get to the end of the weekend. And notice on Labor Day, well, still hot across the nation's midsection, but cooler over the upper Great Lakes into northern New England. Let's recap the weekend for you then, starting with today, well, actually Saturday's high temperatures, 90s and 100s here in the nation's midsection, but again cooler for the northeast and northern New England. And it will be dry for most of the northeast on Saturday in the plains here. A quick look at the forecast highs on Sunday and the precipitation forecast Sunday, dry for most areas. So dry for the most part this weekend. This weekend outlook has been sponsored by Train. We'll be right back.
Hurricane Earl is hitting parts of the southeast, and Tropical Storm Isis may soon be affecting parts of the southwest. An update next on Weather Center after your local forecast.
This program was sponsored by Train. It's hard to stop a train.
This is Singing Bob saying, adios, till next time.
Singing Bob.
Hey, I'm home. Guess whose ranch got a new furnace today?
Singing Bob. So when you go back, I could go too and ride a trusty horse bullet?
Whoa, son. I won't be going back to Singing Bob's for a long, long time. Singing Bob bought a train.
Call your authorized Train dealer. It's hard to stop a train.
The all-new Mitsubishi Galant. Available 195 horsepower, totally new styling.
Sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors, the all-new 1998 Galant. Wake up and drive.
Can't wait to get a big house.
Just can't wait to get out of this big old house. Fortunately, everyone's idea of a dream house isn't always the same. As part of the world's #1 real estate sales organization, Century 21 professionals have the power to do more than anyone else to help you buy or sell a home. In other words, to make your dreams come true. That's the power of #1, Century 21.
Call 1-800-4HOUSES for a Century 21 office near you.
I think my wife will like this.
I'm sorry, sir, but we're closing.
Yeah, but I just wanted to know if...
Why shop around someone else's schedule? With complete 24-hour service, Geico lets you buy car insurance anytime. Buy directly over the phone and you could save 15% or more. Geico Direct, a better way to buy car insurance.
Does this come in beige?
The Weather Channel's program schedule may be different than normal during the next half hour due to special tropical weather coverage. A comprehensive report is just ahead on Weather Center. Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
People to stay off the streets this morning in Panama City, Florida. The city took a lashing early today as Hurricane Earl made landfall in the Panhandle region. Earl dumped heavy rain that flooded streets. Winds from the storm knocked down trees and power lines. Good morning and welcome to Weather Center. I'm Vivian Brown. Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina all face the threat of serious flooding today as Earl moves across parts of the southeast. Meanwhile, in the southwest, you'll see heavy rain from tropical storm Isis. Chicago could see thunderstorms later today, but Philadelphia will enjoy very pleasant weather with partly cloudy skies and a high in the low to mid-80s. First, however, we'll go to the latest information on Earl and Isis with Bruce Edwards in the Forecast Center. Good morning, Bruce.
Good morning, Vivian, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning as Earl has made landfall and continues to swirl over the southeast rather rapidly now, and it's bringing some heavy downpours to a good chunk of the southeastern U.S. Here's the latest satellite picture, and Earl is still classified as a hurricane by the Hurricane Center, but likely in the next update we may have it downgraded to a tropical storm. But Earl is centered right about here, and you can see the swirl of clouds wrapping around the center. And it's really that tail that is where we're finding some of the more significant wind and rain now near the Tampa Bay vicinity. Here's the observation as of 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time from the National Hurricane Center. Earl was centered at 31.2 north, 84.2 west, or about 30 miles south of Albany, Georgia. It was a minimal hurricane, and it's expected to weaken now that it is well over land and should stay over land, so we can expect that perhaps to be downgraded on the next report. It is moving northeast at 16, may even speeding up a little bit more than that. It appears to be going pretty rapidly off towards the northeast right now. There still remain hurricane warnings along the coast from Panama City, Florida to the Suwannee River. And from there south to Anclote Key, we have tropical storm warnings. These likely will again be taken down as Earl continues to weaken. However, there is still that threat for some severe weather. Severe or I should say tornado watch remains in effect. Northeastern Florida, southeastern Georgia until 11 a.m. Eastern time. We did have reports of funnel clouds up into South Carolina around the Beaufort, Hilton Head area and up along the coast. We'll continue to keep that. But everything really got down and dirty about 1, 2 o'clock this morning as Hurricane Earl made landfall near Panama City Beach, Florida, and continued to work its way inland. Earl caused problems along the coast in the form of the wind and the flooding and the heavy rains. Charles Goodman, the public information officer for the Bay County Commission, talked with us earlier this morning about the status of things, and we're fortunate enough to have him on the line right now with us. Good morning again, Mr. Goodman.
How are you doing?
Thanks for joining us again on what is, I'm sure, a very busy morning in Panama City Beach and Bay County. What's the situation there as you had a few more hours and a little bit of sunlight to assess your situation there in Panama City?
Right now, the assessment crews went out approximately 6:30. They're supposed to make reports back to us at 10. We're, of course, concerned about, the flooding in the entire area. We've got a beach nourishment project that is underway, and we want to see what has been nourished so far as opposed to the beach that wasn't. We want to compare those facts and figures and be very interested to see those results.
Now, any reports of any damage or any injuries or any significant damage in your city this morning?
No, we've had some damage to homes, some damage to vehicles, some damage to beachfront property from the high wave action. Infrastructurally, there has not been that much damage. It's mainly been flooding to the roads that hopefully will dissipate and will just minor repairs is what we'll need.
Any idea when everything ought to be pretty much back to normal in your vicinity?
We're hoping, Florida Department of Transportation has been at the beach since this morning on Highway 98. There's just a few number of washout areas. The county road crews have been out as well. The cities. Hopefully we'll get come with a plan of action by 10 o'clock today, and we'll be well underway and maybe complete by tomorrow.
Great. Thank you very much. Charles Goodman from Bay County Emergency Management Team filling us in on the situation around Panama City, Florida. Well, the winds are still pretty brisk around the center of the storm, and at times we're seeing some gusts upwards of 40 miles per hour reported around Tallahassee, also along the Georgia coast there up around St. Simon's Island. But, and again, a lot of these with some of the thunderstorms ripping through. Now, storm surge is the most significant part of a hurricane many, many times, and we had reports of a surge of about 10 foot around Wakulla Springs and northern Florida, which is, again, right here around the Appalachia Bay vicinity in Franklin County, about a 7-foot surge and 6.5 foot around Cedar Key, Florida. The rain's at times heavy. Coastal flooding is a threat, especially with that onshore southeasterly wind flow, and flash flood watches still remain in effect. You can see the regional radar once again with the center of Earl approximately right about there is where it appears now on the radar by the observations. But again, it's that tail, that lash of thunderstorms that comes whisking in off the Gulf of Mexico that is raking through the Tampa Bay vicinity now and swinging all the way up along the Georgia coast. Closer inspection shows some heavy storms now moving through Tampa Bay and Pinellas County and over towards Clearwater and St. Petersburg as they continue to race to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. This radar out of Savannah, you can just about pick out the center right here where this I-75 symbol is. Here is where Earl is, and we've had some heavy storms raking the Georgia coast. Still getting a strong onshore flow here, so you're getting some wind and some high surf, and report of some funnel clouds, as I mentioned, over coastal portions of South Carolina, and the rain continues to advance on up through the Atlanta metro area. Athens, Augusta, and Macon have seen some heavy rain. So far, a couple of inches of rain has fallen, a little over that in Macon, Georgia. Now, the next thing we worry about, of course, is the heavy rain and the flooding. And out to the Pacific, we have another system that is a tropical storm. It is Isis, and Isis continues to swirl over the coast of Mexico. You can see on the satellite picture it is weakening as it is now over the land area. It is a tropical storm with top winds at 55 miles an hour, moving north at 10. And Isis is forecast to continue to trek up towards the Arizona-Southern California border. And you can see the moisture stream here over the southern U.S. with Isis moving up in this direction and Earl being shunted off towards the northeast. And again, rain and potential flooding will be the threat in both corners of the country. So that's the latest on our tropical situation. You can check out your specific information request anytime on the internet at weather.com. Now, Vivian Brown fills us in on what else is going on elsewhere besides the southern corners of the country. Viv?
Well, thanks, Bruce. This edition of Weather Center is sponsored by GMC Trucks. Showers are disrupting your morning in parts of the Midwest, but the Northeast, you're enjoying very pleasant conditions so far. And that'll be the case, we think, all day today in the Northeast, as we are forecasting partly sunny conditions, a high of only around 79 degrees today. Boston, New York City should get up to 82 after seeing storms yesterday, but they have moved out of the picture, and you'll be left with some pretty nice weather. I know the U.S. Open, the women's, well, one of the rounds was canceled yesterday because of the very heavy rain, or postponed yesterday, last night because of the rain that moved into the area. But hopefully today can get back out and finish the tournament. And, of course, that'll go on through the weekend, and we'll have your weekend forecast coming up in just a moment. The heavy rain, though, over the southeast from Hurricane Earl, and, of course, the moisture increasing here across the southwest from Tropical Storm Isis that Bruce told you about. But this is the area we've been watching this morning. Around Chicago, we've had some passing showers, a little heavier on the west side of the city right now. Moving northward here around the Rockford area, you find more rain. All of this is pushing off toward the southeast at about 20 to 25 miles an hour. And I wanted to show you the radar out of Southern California. This is the California-Mexican border here. Notice the heavy rain around San Diego and even northwestward around Los Angeles vicinity. All of this is basically spiraling off to the north and west, and moisture will increase again as Tropical Storm Isis heads northward. Behind the surface front, we have cooler air, temperatures in the 50s and 60s. We even have some 30s and 40s the air ahead of Minnesota. It'll be another hot one, though. You can certainly expect that in the nation's midsection, as we are expecting triple digits from Dallas to Oklahoma City. Traveling Interstate 70 through Kansas should not give you any problems, but over the southeast, you'll have problems. Details coming up next on TravelWise.
This program was sponsored by GMC. See your local dealer today.
We think an SUV should be less status symbol and more truck. So you'll find a truck-based steel frame under every Jimmy to give it backbone and make it as solid and true as a GMC truck. And right now, get this solid deal. Buy a Jimmy and get $2,500 cash back during the GMC Summer Sell-Down. Your GMC dealer's got plenty of Jimmys on hand. But hurry, because while backbone will always be standard on Jimmy, this great deal won't. Jimmy by GMC.
I can't live like this. Have no fear, the Orkin Man is here, and you've been evicted.
Got bugs? Call Orkin for a free inspection and guaranteed protection.
I've been studying hurricanes for an adult lifetime, for the better part of 30 years now. To do this kind of work, you have to love what you're doing, and you have to have a feeling for your viewers, make them understand what the real danger is of hurricanes. Tropical weather systems are affected by so many variables. We constantly monitor the situation. Wind direction, wind speed, changes in direction, changes in strength. We never say more than we know. That's dangerous. If someone is safer by watching the Weather Channel, that's what it's all about.
Lighten up your coffee with Carnation Coffee Mate Light and fat-free. And enjoy all the rich, creamy taste without all the fat. Your cup, your Coffee Mate.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
This Travel Wisest Go Around is sponsored by AT&T. Still looking at some delays around Hartford, Connecticut, but they should be lessening as we look at the next hour or so. The very dense fog that was there earlier this morning is now beginning to lift. Good news for the northeastern quarter. In the southeast, you're going to be looking at another problem. A lot of rainfall from south and east of Atlanta up towards Charlotte. Also beginning to batter much of South Carolina right now is heavy rainfall from Hurricane Earl, which is on its way to the northeast. It's going to be spreading the rainfall with it across much of South Carolina and even southeastern North Carolina as the day goes on as well. Could be looking at a few more stronger storms here for the upcoming day. Florida, southeastern Georgia, and now South Carolina too. And there goes the rain spreading on towards the north. Let's take a look at a brand new tornado watch. Now covers southeastern Georgia, much of eastern and southeastern South Carolina, and just clipping the southeastern corner of North Carolina. We'll pick up the rainfall from Tampa, St. Pete, getting up towards Daytona Beach and Jacksonville. Orlando, Disney World country will be looking at some of that rainfall, and the very heavy rainfall associated with Earl now beginning to pass over a good chunk of South Carolina and much of south and eastern Georgia. Let's take a look at the northeastern part of the country, the Midwest. We'll pick up a couple of more showers again around Chicagoland, but no big deal. And the west is going to be quiet except for Southern California. Looking at some storms right now. International weather, Dublin for tomorrow, 64 degrees, London 66, and for Vienna tomorrow, 73 degrees.
This program was sponsored by AT&T. It's all within your reach.
Look, son, I know you're going to Dublin on business, but if you get a chance, will you look up your cousins in Clare?
Well, I'll try.
Yeah, my friend Meg in Galway.
Hey, great uncle.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lynn.
Noreen Hennessy.
How are you? Donna O'Brien.
Hello, Brendan Campbell.
So should we get going?
Yeah, sure.
You want to stay in touch while you're away?
Hi, Dad. Yeah, I'm in Dublin.
Just dial the AT&T access number of the country you're in and charge it to your calling card or credit card.
I'll try. I will. Dad, I gotta go.
AT&T Direct Service makes it easy.
Yeah, Dad. There's someone here who wants to talk to you.
Dennis? He's the spitting image of you.
Dennis, I bet you haven't got a clue who you're talking to.
Hi, it's Anna. Great to see
Hey,
Kevin.
Kevin, should we call your Uncle Dan? There's loads of people here who want to talk to you.
Johnny, how's Minneapolis? Kevin, is it too early to call San Jose?
Dial this toll-free number for a free wallet guide of worldwide AT&T access numbers or stop by our website.
The all-new Mitsubishi Galant. Available 195 horsepower, totally new styling.
Sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors, the all-new 1998 Galant. Wake up and drive.
It's time now for a look at your holiday weekend coming up now, the Labor Day weekend, and we're going to talk about, again, some mostly dry weather for most of the country. Yes, there'll be some showers in the southeastern part of the country, widely scattered. Same thing over the southwest, but the big news here, much of the country is going to be dry, so get out there and enjoy whatever you want to be doing for the upcoming weekend. Dry weather from Dallas, but hot conditions there. Same thing for Kansas City and St. Louis and Chicago. And look at New England. Looking at some dry weather here. Could be a couple of scattered showers sneaking back into the picture by Labor Day for upstate New York and parts of northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and also Maine, but overall, not that big of a deal. Most of the country, again, will be dry from Columbus, nearby Reynoldsburg, Ohio, Firebrook, Kentucky, all the way down towards Louisville. Same thing for Tupelo, Mississippi, Little Rock, Arkansas, and looks like for the northwestern part of the country, dry, and finally cooling down a tad. Here's a look at Saturday's highs. Very hot over the southern plains and the southwest. It looks like slowly but surely the warming trend continues in the southeast.
The best way to stop suffering from allergies is never to start. This is nasal crown. You heard right. Nasal crown. It's allergy prevention. Nasal crown doesn't just relieve allergies. It flat out prevents them, preventing the natural defenses in your nose from going haywire. So you can live like a person with no allergies. Nasal crown's like nothing else.
No drowsiness, no jitters, no dependency. Nasal Crown. The best way to stop suffering is never to start.
You can also get reliable forecasts from the Weather Channel through this radio station. What'll the weather be like where you're going tomorrow? Find out while you're still in bed with a wake-up call from 1-900-WEATHER. Call 1-900-WEATHER for more information.
This is Pete. He recently got a letter offering him a new credit card with a $3,000 limit and an interest rate of 18%, which is odd because Pete is a dog. Now, why would anybody offer a credit card to a dog? Well, who else is going to sit still for 18% interest? There is a smarter way to borrow. Call Countrywide at 800-943-8631 and find out about a home equity line of credit. The interest rate is lower than most credit cards and may be tax deductible, too. A Countrywide home equity line of credit lets you use the equity you've built up in your home to add a room, remodel your kitchen, or anything else. Now, Pete doesn't own his home, so you'll just have to stick with credit cards. If you've got equity in your home, don't carry a high balance on your credit cards. Call Countrywide at 800-943-8631. Countrywide. Easy, really.
Every day is new. We tell you about the weather right now. How will it affect where you're headed? What about your plans? People count on us to get them through the day. I love that.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
This tropical update this go around is sponsored by the Home Depot. Let's focus in first of all on Hurricane Earl, which made landfall last evening, actually very, very early this morning, about 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right around Panama City, Florida. The current position right now, the center of circulation, 7 o'clock this morning anyway, 31.2 degrees north, 84.2 degrees west, or about 30 miles to the south of Albany, Georgia. It's really rocketing now to the northeast, 16 miles per hour. Top sustained winds 75 miles per hour, probably right near the center of circulation in some gusts, but overall we're looking at a weakening hurricane at the present time, probably is now already becoming a tropical storm status, and that weakening trend will continue as the day goes on. The pressure's up another millibar now, 989 millibars. Let's show you what's going on right now as far as hurricane warnings. Well, still in effect right now from Panama City, Florida to around the Suwannee River in Florida. And we're looking at tropical storm warnings south of there from the Suwannee River all the way down towards the Anclote Keys in Florida too. Satellite picture-wise, this is what's going on. The center of circulation right now somewhere over southwestern Georgia, right around in through here. The heaviest of the rainfall and convection and thunderstorms is going to be to the east and south of the center of circulation for the upcoming day. It looks like places like Atlanta, probably a near miss as far as heavy rainfall. The south and eastern sides of Atlanta definitely will be looking at more heavier rainfall than north and west. And that's going to be the story all afternoon long. Let's check on what's happening as far as weather watches go out. We have tornado watches, a couple of them right now. One includes northeastern Florida, the far eastern sections of Georgia, and much of eastern South Carolina, and that sliver right there of southeastern North Carolina. This is the reason why. Again, we're looking at some squally weather developing and moving through Tampa and St. Pete at the present time. Get ready if you're watching this from Disney World country. You're going to be looking at some gusty winds. And just about any one of these cells right in through here, some of the more intense thunderstorms can produce tornadoes. And we do see this often whenever we see a landfalling hurricane or a tropical storm. That's exactly what we have at the present time. And you can see as you take a look at this vantage point, there is the center of circulation, looking at the heaviest rainfall, just touching Atlanta right now, but the heaviest of the rainfall by far is between Macon and also right around Augusta, getting up towards Charleston and Myrtle Beach. It's all going to be lifting its way on northward today in the eastern parts of North Carolina as well. Hurricane Danielle, can't write this one off yet, still a hurricane, again, but it's bothering nobody but shipping interest right now as it moves off into the North Atlantic. Top sustained winds 75 miles per hour, northeasterly bound 35 miles per hour, and the weakening trend will continue here as well. A couple of tropical waves we'll be watching for. Don't forget, this is how Earl actually became a nuisance for us. Started back and through here, went into the Gulf of Mexico, sat around for a couple of days, and you know the rest of the story. Again, the mid-Atlantic, not so bad. Watching for another wave coming off the African coastline just south of the Cape Verde Islands. Well, tropical storm Isis downgraded from a hurricane status as of 5 o'clock this morning. Again, moving right just to the north of the Gulf of California right now, supplying a lot of moisture into the southwestern part of the country. That's going to be a big story for sure. And look at the moisture right now as it begins to churn up. And this afternoon, more showers and storms, maybe severe weather likely from California, Arizona, and parts of New Mexico.
Hurricane Earl moves inland, bringing heavy rain and strong winds to parts of the southeast. An update on its progress next on Weather Center after your local forecast.
This program was sponsored by the Home Depot.
As a customer, you're so important to us that you should have the best price all the time rather than just sometimes when other stores think it's convenient for you.
Home Depot doesn't have sales because we have an everyday low price.
The competitors have to have the sales because they jack their prices up so high. But we keep our prices low every day.
You would be out of your mind if you shop someplace else.
Seal out weather, dust, and pests with Larson Storm Doors. Their solid construction keeps them from warping, and you'll find them at the guaranteed low price every day at the Home Depot.
The all-new Mitsubishi Galant. Available 195 horsepower, totally new styling.
Sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors, the all-new 1998 Galant. Wake up and drive.
A lifetime with Iams.
Here, Casey. Here, boy. Come on, Case. I'll race you.
Every day you feed your dog Iams, you help its chance for a long, healthy life. Iams is easy to digest, so more nutrition stays in your dog.
Come on, Casey.
Good boy.
Iams Dog Foods. Good for life. From the Iams Company. Now, for a limited time, look for specially marked Iams dog and cat food bonus bags at participating Iams retailers.
I've been studying hurricanes for an adult lifetime, the better part of 30 years now. To do this kind of work, you have to love what you're doing, and you have to have a feeling for your viewers, make them understand what the real danger is of hurricanes.
Tropical weather systems are affected by so many variables.
We constantly monitor the situation. Wind direction, wind speed, changes in direction, changes in strength.
We never say more than we know. That's dangerous. If someone is safer by watching the Weather Channel, that's what it's all about.
How can you plan your day when you don't know what the weather is going to be like? When I was in high school, I enjoyed doing things out of doors. Sometimes the weather had an effect on things that I wanted to do. In other words, you can't play baseball in a thunderstorm. Sometimes the fish bite better when it's raining. So I started paying attention to the forecast, and it made all the difference. I know people like to plan ahead for their day, and they need to know how the weather is going to be later in the day. Now I'm the guy with the forecast. I can help you out.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
We're asking people to stay off the streets this morning in Panama City, Florida. The city took a lashing early today as Hurricane Earl made landfall in the Panhandle region shortly after midnight. Earl dumped heavy rain that flooded the streets. Winds from the storm knocked down trees and power lines as well. Good morning, I'm Will Annen, and welcome to Weather Center. Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina all face the threat of serious flooding today as Earl continues to move across parts of the southeast. Meanwhile, in the southwest, you'll see more heavy rainfall. This will be from Tropical Storm Isis. Chicago could see thunderstorms later on today as well. But Philadelphia, they're going to be looking at very pleasant weather with partly cloudy skies and a high in the low to middle 80s. First, however, we've got the very latest right now on Earl and Isis. Let's go to Bruce Edwards. He's standing by in the Forecast Center.
Thanks, Will, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us as we continue to plot the progress of Hurricane Earl over the southeast and Tropical Storm Isis over Mexico, but whose moisture and cloud cover is feeding into the southwestern United States. Let's go to the satellite picture this morning, the enhanced color version showing Earl, which is centered now over South Georgia in approximately that position. And you can see the cloud cover just wrapping around the hurricane as it moves off to the northeast. The latest hurricane position from the National Hurricane Center as of 7 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Earl was centered at 31.2 north, 84.2 west, 30 miles south of Albany, Georgia. Maximum winds, minimal hurricane strength, 75, but it should undergo some weakening, significant weakening now that it is well inland right now. And really, it maintained its hurricane strength at the last observation because of some hurricane-force winds that were out over the Gulf Coast. Now, those more than likely have diminished this morning. So we could very well, within the next hour, when the next update comes from the Hurricane Center, see this downgraded to a tropical storm. It is moving northeast, and it has increased its forward speed now to about 16 miles per hour, and perhaps maybe even moving a little quicker than that. We still have hurricane warnings, though, posted from Panama City, Florida to the Suwannee River, and from the Suwannee River south to Anclot Key, we do have a tropical storm warning in effect for this region of northeast or northwestern Florida. Now, there has been a tornado watch in effect for portions of Florida and South Georgia, but now the Severe Storms Forecast Center has issued another tornado watch. That's for the coastal Carolinas, running from Savannah up to Jacksonville, North Carolina. And this particular tornado watch is in effect till 5 o'clock Eastern Time this morning. Now, the situation in Panama City, Florida was where the brunt of Hurricane Earl came ashore last night between 1 and 2 a.m. And it caused some power outages, some trees and power lines, some heavy rain, of course, and it really churned up the Gulf of Mexico. And it did cause some problems with some fishing boats that were offshore from Panama City. And we're fortunate enough to have on the phone right now Mark Makowiak, Public Affairs Officer with the Coast Guard. Mark, could you please describe the situation as it developed last night as far as the vessels are concerned?
Good morning. About 9:30 last night, we received an emergency position indicating radio beacon from the fishing vessel Me 2 and its sister ship, the Can 2. Both of the 31-foot fishing vessels capsized due to the heavy weather and wind that Earl had churned up.
So there we have two boats that were capsized. How many individuals were aboard these boats?
There were 3 fishermen on board each boat. Luckily, we were able to rescue 2 very early this morning. Or I should say, we rescued 3 very early this morning. 2 were clinging to one of the capsized vessels. Another one was located clinging to some debris that was nearby. We rescued the 4th one about 5 a.m. He was on board a life raft.
So now, as we stand now, you still have 2 individuals missing out there, and that your search is continuing this morning?
Yes, we're searching for the other 2 people right now using 2 helicopters from our aviation training center in Mobile and a Coast Guard cutter, Kodiak Island.
What are the conditions on the Gulf Coast now as far as the weather is concerned? Is it hampering your search?
I'm not exactly sure what the search conditions are right now. I know yesterday when we got the initial call, the launching of the helicopters was delayed due to the extremely heavy wind and heavy rain in the area.
All righty, thank you very much, and continued good luck in your search. The Coast Guard spokesman, Mark Makowiak, looking for a couple of fishermen who were tossed into the sea by Hurricane Earl as it came ashore last evening. Now, the winds, as we check those out right now, speaking of which, are strongest as you get up around Valdosta and over towards St. Simon's Island, the latest reports. But generally, we're still talking about 30-mile-an-hour wind gusts, but generally 15 and 25-mile-an-hour winds are what you're finding. Now, the storm surge is usually the most dangerous part of a hurricane, and we have reports that when Earl came ashore, that there was a 10-foot surge around Wakulla County and around a 7-foot surge around Franklin County, and that's around Appalachia Bay right in through here. Around Cedar Key, the surge is about 6.5 feet on top of already what the tidal conditions are, and some flooding did occur through this region. Flash flood watches are posted for the region because really now the most significant fear is that of flooding and some heavy rains. You can see the moisture here wrapping up around Earl. Actually, we're getting some partly cloudy conditions already around Panama City and the Florida Panhandle, but it's the tail end of this where the storms are moving on into west central Florida and working their way with the moisture all the way up into parts of the Carolinas and Georgia. Here you can see heavier storms into Tampa, Florida at the present time, heading off to the northeast at 40. Center of the system should be right about here in this vicinity right here, and we can see some heavy rains around Savannah and Augusta up to Columbia, Myrtle Beach, and Charleston, and reports of some funnel clouds earlier this morning in coastal parts of South Carolina. The rain continues to slowly work its way northward, east side of Atlanta, catching a few moderate showers along Interstate 20. Rainfall could be heavy, and that'll be the big threat as far as Earl is concerned as it continues to move on. Some locally heavy rains and some flash flooding, a possibility here as we work our way through the day today. So we'll be watching that very, very carefully. Now, ISIS is in the southwest. ISIS is a tropical storm that has weakened, is drifting north at 10 miles per hour. It's providing some moisture already in the southwestern U.S. As you can see, the moisture flow here around the system, and that could cause some problems there. We'll continue to keep an update on ISIS as it moves in towards Southern California and Southern Arizona. So lots going on in the tropics. You can catch the latest information on the internet at weather.com anytime, day or night. Now, Weather Will has a look at the rest of the nation's weather. Will?
Thanks a lot, Bruce. And this edition of Weather Center is sponsored by Century 21. Showers are disrupting your morning in parts of the Midwest, but in the Northeast, you're going to be enjoying some very pleasant weather for the upcoming afternoon, and hot weather likely once again across a good chunk of the West. I'll show you what's going on with the satellite picture. You can see all the moisture from ISIS beginning to roll into the southwestern part of the country. That, in conjunction with the heating of the afternoon, is going to really blow up some big-time storms like you saw yesterday, right around Los Angeles County and points south and east. Looks like that'll be the same thing developing again today. The Pacific Northwest is going to be dry. Much of the Midwest this morning will be dry later this afternoon once we get the rain past the Chicagoland region. And otherwise, you can see in the southeast, still looking at some real messy weather coming down here, all thanks and all due in part to Hurricane Earl, which will be downgraded shortly probably to a tropical storm. Let's hear what's going to be happening as far as the current weather map. Then we'll take you into the forecast. Nothing but a tropical low by later on this evening is going to be Earl. The same thing again for ISIS over the southwest, but throwing a lot of moisture back into the southwestern corner of the country. Weak disturbance could produce yet another shower for Chicagoland by later on today. Same thing for South Bend. But the northeast is looking fine for the most part. But check on what's going to be happening again with Earl beginning to move into the Carolinas. Heavy rainfall likely there. Locally 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 inches of rainfall as it begins to crawl up the eastern seaboard. Well, once again, we'll take a look at the forecast highs. Now we're looking at daytime highs, much cooler in the southeast because of clouds and wind and rain. Still very hot throughout the plain states. Muggy tomorrow again in Florida. It looks like another cool down for New England, but the heat wave continues over much of the central and southern plains. We'll have more on the developments of Hurricane Earl and also ISIS yet to come. But coming up next is traveling conditions right after your local forecast.
This program was sponsored by Century 21, the world's #1 real estate sales organization.
At Century 21, we realize what buying a house really means. As part of the world's #1 real estate sales organization, Century 21 offices have more people, resources, and power to help you find the home of your dreams. That's the power of #1, Century 21.
Call 1-800-4HOUSES for a Century 21 office near you.
Every day, more people are choosing Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse, and here's why.
Only Lowe's carries severe weather exterior paint.
With an endless selection of colors, this paint can really dress up your home.
And like the name says, it'll stand up to severe weather. Rain, snow, sleet, or sun.
So tough, it comes with a 15-year warranty.
All at guaranteed everyday low prices too.
Maybe that's why Lowe's is behind every great paint job.
When it comes to home improvement,
Lowe's knows.
Right now, it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel. Now the Michelin Travel-Wise Report, brought to you by Michelin and your local Michelin dealer.
We're still looking at some locally dense fog around Hartford, Connecticut, so some delays are still expected here for the next hour or so. And just recently, some delays have been popping up around Washington and Baltimore because of turbulence in the region, but that too is expected to be rather minimal over the next couple of hours. If you take a look at the deep south, we're looking at some problem areas here for sure. Looking at some thunderstorms causing delays around Tampa at the present hour. Same thing is going to be happening around Atlanta and Charlotte and all the way up into North Carolina, maybe southeastern Virginia. by the time the day comes to a close. I'll show you a current weather map. All the problems in the southeastern corner of the country, the wind, the rain, the thunderstorms being caused by Hurricane Earl, which probably will be downgraded to a tropical storm within the hour. Northeast looking at fog beginning to lift. Things should be improving there for sure. And a couple of stronger storms right around Chicago early this morning beginning to fade away at the present time. There was severe weather yesterday with a lot of moisture being brought northward and northwestward from Hurricane Isis, which is now a tropical storm. Expect the same thing to happen again today in Southern California, Arizona, maybe southwestern New Mexico as well, once we get the heating of the day, which will help to roughly grow some of those big-time thunderstorms and kick up some maybe severe weather there as well. Stronger storms in the southwest, they could be back around Chicago, Rockford and Freeport, maybe Dubuque, Iowa by later this afternoon. And again, we're looking at some problem spots in the southeast. That due to Earl. And take a look at that blob of rainfall heading northeasterly right now at a pretty good clip. Tornado watches, we still have those for you right now across northeastern Florida, southeastern Georgia, much of eastern South Carolina, and the southeastern tip of North Carolina. Here comes the rainfall blowing through Tampa, Orlando, Daytona Beach, and Jacksonville. And farther northbound, we picked more rainfall. Basically, east and south of Atlanta is the heaviest of the rainfall. Most of South Carolina covered by rainfall now. Most of southeastern and central Georgia covered by rainfall. And that begins to slide northward as the day goes on. Not bad so far throughout the northeastern part of the country. Midwest looks fine for now. And some of those storms around Chicago beginning to fade away.
This program was sponsored by
You're looking at live scenes from Nags Head, North Carolina. Waves are crashing on shore in advance of Hurricane Bonnie, which is expected to make landfall somewhere along the Carolina coast later on today. Good morning. Welcome to Weather Center. I'm Cheryl Lemke. Hurricane warnings are now covering a wider area as Hurricane Bonnie approaches with 115-mile-per-hour winds. In other news, showers are making it very wet this morning in Boston. Cleveland is seeing some partly cloudy conditions, and you'll find the streets in New York City are wet as you head off to work. Now, we start with the threatening conditions, though, across the southeastern coast. And for the very latest in Hurricane Bonnie, let's go to Marshall Cease in the Forecast Center.
Thank you very much.